Welcome to Life Stories. Imagine fighting for your children, your very last breath spent in the courtroom, while everything you've ever known is ripped away. Now, picture the one person you trusted the most turning into your worst enemy, using everything you've built together against you. What if the truth, the one thing you clung to in the darkest of times, was hidden away, locked in a place you never expected, and your 7-year-old son was the one who uncovered it? The fight for what matters most can feel endless, but sometimes it only takes one small voice to change everything. But is the truth enough to win, or will the lies be too powerful to defeat? Stick around, because what happens next will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about justice, love, and survival. Let's dive in. The courtroom was colder than usual, a sterile, impersonal place where lives were torn apart with a mere flick of a pen. Jennifer sat at the edge of her seat, her hands clenched tightly in her lap, trying desperately to keep the tremors at bay. The lawyer for her ex-husband David was relentless. His voice cut through the air like a blade as he painted a picture of Jennifer as a woman unfit to care for her children. "She's barely scraping by," the lawyer sneered, throwing a stack of financial documents onto the table, the sound of them slapping against the wood echoing in the quiet room. "She can't even afford a stable home, let alone provide for her children. Look at her, Your Honor. Is this the kind of environment we want to subject two innocent kids to?" Jennifer didn't respond. She couldn't. The words stabbed at her, and she felt her chest tighten. She had spent years in this very room trying to keep it together while David's lawyer painted her as a failure, a mother unworthy of her children. Each accusation felt like a slap, but she wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her crumble. She glanced at her children sitting quietly beside her. Ethan, her 7-year-old son, sat with his hands folded in his lap, his eyes wide, searching for answers. Zoe, his 5-year-old sister, hummed softly to herself, clutching her favorite stuffed animal, oblivious to the storm raging around her. Jennifer's heart ached for them. They didn't deserve any of this. The judge, an older man with a stern expression, had been silent for what felt like an eternity. Jennifer could sense his doubt. The cold, indifferent way he reviewed the papers in front of him, the slight furrow in his brow, it all pointed to the same conclusion. He was leaning toward David's side. "I've heard enough," the judge finally spoke, his voice low but final. "I will make my decision shortly." Jennifer's heart dropped into her stomach. It wasn't enough. She wasn't enough. The truth was, she had nothing to offer in this courtroom. No fancy lawyer to defend her, no glimmering testimonials of her worth. Just a mother struggling to make ends meet, fighting for the only thing that mattered in this world, her children. But then, just as the weight of despair threatened to consume her, a small voice interrupted the silence. "Mom," Ethan said, his voice clear and strong, breaking through the tension like a lifeline. "Can I show the judge the letter I found in Dad's safe?" The entire courtroom froze. Jennifer's heart skipped a beat. The letter? What letter? David's lawyer whipped around, her face pale with shock. Even David, sitting across the room, shifted in his chair, his confident posture faltering for the first time. Jennifer's mind raced. What was Ethan talking about? She had no idea. Ethan stood, walking slowly toward the judge's bench, holding a small folded piece of paper in his hand. Jennifer's hands shook, and she struggled to maintain composure. She had no idea what this letter was, but her son's unwavering courage in the face of such an intense moment left her breathless. The room remained still as Ethan handed the letter to the judge. Jennifer watched as the judge unfolded it with slow deliberation, his expression unreadable. A strange tension filled the air as the judge's eyes scanned the document. And then, the change happened. The judge's eyebrows knitted together. His eyes flicked from the paper to David, then back again. His voice, now tinged with a sharp edge, cut through the room. "Mr. Morrow," he said, his gaze fixed on David, "would you care to explain this?" David's face drained of color. His mouth opened, but no words came out. The smugness he had walked into the room with was gone, replaced by a palpable tension. The lawyer next to him whispered frantically, But David couldn't seem to gather his thoughts. Jennifer's mind was reeling, her pulse racing. She didn't know what was on the paper, but it was clear it had shattered whatever carefully constructed facade David had built. The judge cleared his throat and read the letter aloud. "Mr. Morrow," the judge began, "this letter, dated 3 months before your divorce filing, contains instructions for opening offshore accounts, transferring assets, and concealing income. It also advises keep primary custody if possible, but at a minimum, ensure she has little ground for legal appeal by appearing financially stable and morally sound." The room was silent, the weight of the judge's words sinking into the walls. Jennifer felt her knees give way beneath her. The man she had married, the man who had convinced everyone, including her, that he was the good guy, was a liar, a manipulator, a man who had gone to great lengths to destroy her life and take her children from her. The judge's voice broke through the fog in her mind. "Mr. Morrow, you have intentionally misled this court. You have attempted to manipulate these proceedings through financial deception." David tried to speak, but the judge's voice cut him off, a finality in his tone. "Sit down, Mr. Morrow." Jennifer could barely breathe. The truth was out. Her son, her brave boy, had saved them all. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, Jennifer felt like the tide had finally turned in her favor. But the fight wasn't over. Not yet. David wouldn't let go so easily. And even though the judge had ruled in her favor today, Jennifer knew that the war wasn't won by just one battle. The courtroom buzzed with quiet whispers as the judge ordered a temporary suspension of David's custody rights until a formal investigation into his finances could be completed. But Jennifer wasn't focused on the whispers. Her eyes were on Ethan. "Did I mess up, Mom?" Ethan whispered as they walked out of the courtroom, hand in hand. "No, baby," Jennifer whispered back, her voice thick with emotion. "You saved us." Her son had spoken the truth when no one else had the courage to. And that, Jennifer realized, was the most powerful thing in the world. What would you have done if you were in Ethan's shoes, standing up to expose the truth despite the consequences? Do you think Jennifer's victory will last? Or is this just the beginning of a bigger fight? The next chapter could reveal even darker secrets. Stay tuned to find out what happens next. The weeks that followed the court ruling felt like a strange dream to Jennifer. On the surface, life was beginning to settle into a semblance of normalcy. Ethan and Zoe were adjusting to their new routine. The rent was still tight, the bills still piled up, but there was no constant fear of losing them anymore. The whispers of her victory felt hollow sometimes, though. Her heart remained heavy, weighed down by the questions that refused to stop circling. Her ex-husband, David, had been quiet since the hearing. The once confident man who had tried to strip her of everything was now eerily silent. It was unsettling. Jennifer knew he wasn't the kind of man to give up without a fight. He would come back. And this time, Jennifer wasn't sure she was ready for the full force of what he might do. One evening, after the kids had gone to bed, Jennifer sat on the couch, flipping through the papers she had been given about the ongoing investigation into David's finances. Her mind wasn't on the details. It was on the letter Ethan had found. The one that had turned everything upside down. How had he found it? What was David really hiding? The image of Ethan's innocent face, holding the letter so bravely, was a constant reminder of the courage her son had shown, but also of the danger that still loomed. As she sat in the dim light of the living room, she heard a knock on the door. Her heart skipped. She wasn't expecting anyone, and it was late. She hesitated, unsure whether to answer it, but when she peered through the peephole, she saw the last person she expected to see, Carla, the lawyer who had represented David in the custody battle. Jennifer's stomach twisted. The woman was standing in the dim light, her posture rigid, her expression guarded. Without a second thought, Jennifer opened the door. "I wasn't sure if you'd want to see me," Carla said, her voice colder than usual, "but I think we need to talk." Jennifer didn't invite her in, but she didn't shut the door either. "What do you want?" Carla's eyes flickered, and for the first time, Jennifer saw something other than the calculated professionalism she'd come to expect. There was something vulnerable in her gaze, a crack in the armor. David, he's not handling this well. He's not the person you think he is. Carla's voice dropped to a near whisper. He's dangerous, Jennifer. Jennifer's breath caught in her throat. What are you talking about? Carla looked over her shoulder as if to check for anyone watching, then stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. The letter Ethan found. It wasn't meant to be found. That wasn't the only one. There are others, things he's been hiding. It's not just money. He's been keeping track of everything. And I think he's planning something far worse than you realize. Jennifer's heart pounded in her chest. She shook her head, trying to process the words. Why are you telling me this? You've worked with him for years. Carla swallowed hard. Because I can't stand by and let him destroy you and your children. He's got connections, people who can make your life unbearable. He's playing a game, and you're not his only target. Jennifer stepped back, her mind reeling. What do you mean? Carla hesitated, her gaze shifting to the floor. He's trying to make it look like you're unfit again. He's already starting to plant the seeds. The investigation, it's not enough. He's pulling strings behind the scenes. The truth doesn't matter to him. Only winning does. The air seemed to thicken around Jennifer as the full weight of Carla's words sank in. She felt a cold shiver run down her spine. What can I do? What do you want from me? Carla looked up, her eyes dark with regret. I can help you, but I need you to trust me. David can't know I'm doing this. He'll destroy me too, but I can't stand to watch him win. Not this time. Jennifer's mind swirled with disbelief. She had trusted no one but her children for so long, and now here was Carla, someone who had been on David's side, offering her help. It felt like a betrayal of everything Jennifer had worked so hard to rebuild. But somewhere deep inside, she knew Carla was telling the truth. The man she had once loved, the man she had trusted, was not the man he appeared to be. I don't know if I can trust you, Jennifer said softly, her voice thick with emotion. You don't have a choice, Carla replied, her voice steady. If you want to keep your kids, if you want to protect them, you'll have to trust me. You're already in over your head. The weight of her words hit Jennifer like a freight train. Her mind raced, caught between the pull of the past and the promise of the future. She was already fighting for everything she loved, her children, her life, her dignity. But now, this new battle loomed before her, a fight for something even more fragile, trust. The door creaked open slightly behind Jennifer, and she turned. Ethan was standing there, his face pale and wide-eyed, staring at the scene unfolding in front of him. In his hand, he held the folded letter once more, the one that had changed everything. Mom? Ethan whispered, his voice trembling. What's going on? Jennifer's heart tightened. The truth was out now, but the real battle was only just beginning. How far would you be willing to go to protect your family, even if it means trusting someone who once stood against you? Just as Jennifer is about to make her decision, everything she thought she knew about the fight for her children will be called into question. What new danger does David have in store for them? The real war is only beginning, and the next twist may be the hardest one yet. Jennifer woke to the sound of a sharp knock at the door. Her heart raced as she sat up, still groggy, the weight of the past few days pressing down on her. The court case, Carla's warning, David's silence, everything felt like it was swirling together, threatening to pull her under. She glanced at the clock. It was early. Too early for anything good. Ethan and Zoe were still asleep in their room, unaware of the storm gathering on the horizon. Jennifer pushed herself up from the couch, still wrapped in the faded quilt she had been using for months. Her legs felt heavy, like they had been carrying her through a long, impossible journey. When she opened the door, there stood Carla, her face grim. You need to come with me, Carla said quickly, her voice low, almost urgent. Now. Jennifer's heart skipped. What is it? What's happened? Carla's eyes darted nervously over her shoulder. David? He's moving faster than we thought. He's gotten to the right people, Jennifer. The people who can make things disappear. You have to come with me. It's not safe here anymore. The chill in Carla's voice was enough to send a wave of fear through Jennifer's chest. What do you mean, safe from what? Safe from whom? I'm talking about the kids, Carla replied, her words rushing out in a whisper. He's taken legal action. He's found a way to bypass the ruling. He's trying to force you into a corner where you'll have no choice but to give up custody. Jennifer stepped back, her body going numb. No, this isn't possible. The court already ruled in my favor. David doesn't play by the rules. He's pulling every trick in the book, and he's got connections that can erase everything. Every victory, every document, every little detail you think you have. You have to trust me on this. We need to get you out of here before he pulls something even bigger. Jennifer's world felt like it was crumbling. The fight for her children, the fragile sense of safety she'd been clinging to, everything was slipping away from her in the blink of an eye. But what could she do? What choice did she have? She grabbed her phone, dialing the only number she trusted anymore, the one person who had stood by her side through everything, her own mother. The phone rang and rang, but there was no answer. No, Jennifer muttered to herself, gripping the phone tighter. She couldn't lose them. Not like this. Jennifer, Carla said, her voice sharp, pulling Jennifer back to the present. We need to move now. Jennifer didn't know what else to do. She turned and grabbed her jacket, pulling it on quickly as she glanced back one last time at the apartment. It wasn't just the place she lived. It was the last part of the life she had tried so hard to hold on to. The place where her children had laughed, where they'd played in the backyard and run through the halls with endless energy. All of it felt like it was vanishing, slipping away from her grasp. Let's go, Carla urged, a slight desperation in her tone. As they left the apartment and stepped into the car, Jennifer's mind raced. She couldn't help but think about the letter Ethan had found, the letter that had turned everything around, the letter that had given her hope when all seemed lost. But now, as Carla drove her toward an uncertain future, Jennifer couldn't shake the feeling that David's influence was far stronger than she had ever realized. The man who had once been a loving husband had turned into a force that could tear her world apart. The drive was long, the silence between them heavy. Carla kept her eyes on the road, while Jennifer stared out the window, her thoughts lost in the chaos of everything that had led her here. She thought about Ethan, his small hands holding the letter that had saved them, and Zoe, her innocent face unaware of the war that raged behind closed doors. They arrived at a small unmarked building in a quiet part of town. It was nothing like Jennifer had expected. There was no sign outside, no indication of what was happening inside. Carla led her up a narrow staircase, the sound of their footsteps echoing through the empty hall. This is it, Carla said as she opened a door. It's a safe place, for now. Jennifer stepped inside, her senses heightened. She didn't trust anyone, not fully, but she had no choice. She had to keep her children safe, even if it meant placing her faith in someone who had once been her enemy. As they entered the room, Jennifer was greeted by a woman in her mid-40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. She introduced herself as Detective Grace. Her presence was calming, yet intense. Jennifer, Detective Grace said, her tone professional but kind. I know this is hard, but you're doing the right thing. We'll get to the bottom of what David's been doing, but you need to stay strong. Jennifer nodded, feeling the weight of everything pressing on her chest. She could hardly breathe. The truth was, she wasn't sure how much longer she could keep fighting. Every day had felt like a battle, and she had come so close to losing it all. How much more could she endure? You'll be safe here, Detective Grace continued, but we need to get the evidence. We need everything. Jennifer closed her eyes for a moment. Everything had been for this moment. The fight, the truth, the courage she had summoned to keep going. She had fought for her children, for their future, but now she realized the battle was much bigger than just the custody fight. As the hours passed, Jennifer couldn't shake the feeling that she was losing herself in this fight. The constant turmoil, the lies, the manipulation, It was suffocating. But then, in the middle of the night, as she lay awake, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Ethan. It simply read, "I love you, Mom." Tears welled up in Jennifer's eyes. In that moment, she knew, no matter what happened, no matter how hard it got, she would fight for him, for Zoe, for everything that mattered. In the end, it wasn't the money, the power, or the manipulation that would define her. It was the love for her children. It was the unwavering strength she had shown when the world had tried to break her. The truth was that love had always been her greatest weapon. How much strength do you think a person can draw from their love for their family? Do you think Jennifer's battle is truly over, or is there more to come? Comment 100 if you think this story moved you and share your thoughts with us. Where are you watching from? Share this video with someone who might need to hear this powerful story. Thank you for watching Life Stories.